Welcome to the Green Apron Alliance Inspired Stories from the Kitchen series. My name is Doug Koob, and I'm the founder of Circle Alliances, which is a food and beverage consulting company based in San Mateo, California. I'm a founding board member of the Green Apron Alliance, and I was previously a partner at Starbucks for 23 years from 1990 to 2014. The mission of the Green Apron Alliance is to create a space for Starbucks alumni to achieve their dreams and make the world a better place by amplifying a legacy of service, caring, and community. Our Inspired Stories series continues tonight. This time we're from the kitchen. This is the third part of a series where we're featuring Starbucks alumni who are cooking up new businesses, brands, and products in their kitchens beyond the siren. The purpose of this series is to connect Green Apron Alliance members from around the world with inspired stories and tasting experiences from Starbucks alumni and to discover what they've learned from building their food and beverage businesses after Starbucks. Just a quick logistic item. Courtney Cummings on the Green Apron Alliance team is the Zoom controller tonight. She's joining us from Brooklyn. She moved to Brooklyn about a month ago. She'll have everyone on mute for most of the event. However, the Zoom chat line is open as of right now, so feel free to submit any questions or comments on the chat. Our guest and myself will be replying to chats throughout the event. Our special guest tonight is James Kelly, who's the co-founder of 1927 S'mores in Portland, Oregon. James was a Starbucks partner multiple times in 3 different states. From 2004 to 2006, James worked as a barista at a Starbucks license store inside a Meijer grocery store in East Lansing, Michigan. From 2006 to 2009, James worked at a Magic Johnson joint venture store, also in East Lansing, where he had the opportunity to meet Magic Johnson himself. After graduating from Michigan State University with a business degree, James then cashed out some Starbucks beanstalk and transferred to Portland, Oregon, where he worked at the Northwest 23rd store until 2012. At that time, this was one of the flagship stores in the Portland market and the epitome of a third place Starbucks experience. After living in Portland for a bit, James headed south to the California Sunshine, where he was an assistant store manager at a high volume Starbucks Reserve store in Pasadena. After returning back to the Pacific Northwest, James followed his dream to open up one of the first s'more shops in the US. He founded 1927 S'mores Company in May 2015, named after the year the Girl Scouts published the original s'mores recipe. The Kellys opened their first s'mores cart across the street from Salt and Straw on Northwest 23rd in August 2015, 3 blocks from the Starbucks store that James had previously worked at. Welcome, James, and thank you so very much for being our special guest at this Green Apron Alliance Inspired Stories from the Kitchen.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you so much.
So we've got a lot to do in the next 50 minutes, including James is going to make some s'mores. He's going to torch some s'mores for us. And we've got lots of questions here. We want to learn about your story, James. And before I start, I just want to say I can't tell you how excited I am about this because I kind of serendipitously met James, not through Starbucks, but I walked into a store called Polar in downtown Portland when I was in town one day. And here he was torching s'mores as a promotion, kind of a pop-up. And that's how I met him. And we'd heard about each other and we've been friends since. And I'm just honored to have him here at this event. So James, thanks so much for joining us. And thanks for flying back from Hawaii, where you've been, and you came back to Portland just for this event. So thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. No worries. Of course.
So you're sitting at your roasting bar. And again, we're going to take some s'mores breaks and light up some s'mores. But before we do that, just a few questions for you. So James, you had a unique opportunity to work at multiple types of Starbucks stores. You worked at licensed stores, joint venture stores, company operated stores in multiple markets, Michigan, Oregon, Southern California. Can you talk about your experiences working at those stores? Those are 3 different environments in different states, and we'd love to learn about your experiences working in those stores.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see, to just kind of experience the brand in different places and kind of like where that culture was at with its relationship with the brand. When I started in Michigan, I mean, like some of the bigger cities had established Starbucks stores for a long time, but I grew up right outside of Lansing, so East Lansing, Michigan, and you know, working at a store in East Lansing, back in 2004, 2006, you're still introducing the brand to every other person. So it's almost like you've got your elevator pitch on the third place environment and, elevated coffee. And then when I moved to Portland, everyone was already an expert. And so I didn't have to explain what a Frappuccino was. Nobody wanted a Frappuccino. They just wanted an Americano with a million shots in it and no room. So it was interesting to see kind of like where the brand was in its life cycle with different groups of people, whether it was maybe simpler folk in mid-Michigan versus a professor in Portland, Oregon. And then, just seeing kind of like that relationship with the customer bases. Yeah.
Yeah, that I moved to Portland with Starbucks in 1997, and I spent a lot of time at Northwest 23rd. And you're right, it was one of the third place really flagship stores for the company in a new market and really sophisticated. And I can picture those big red and purple chairs and green chairs. I'm sure everyone remembers those big stuffed chairs. And I remember when we prepped for this, James, you were talking about some great connections that you made with some customers there. Can you talk a little bit about at Northwest 23rd, some different connections you had with people and how you did that?
Yeah, well, I think I'm a really relational, extroverted person. I'm just like you. So it was really easy to get to know lots of customers. And I can't think of any other brand where the employee has the opportunity to almost like build a just like a big group of friends almost with community members that just come in every single day. It kind of, I think, leads into the next question. But when I was at the East Lansing store, the Magic Johnson store, my manager gave me an opportunity to host a coffee tasting because I was just so passionate and head over heels in love with pairings and tastings. And so he said, fine, you can have a s'mores hour, like go for it. And had a little Facebook group set up for it. But I would just grab people off the street that were walking by, like, hey, come do a coffee tasting. We're doing some white cheddar and Sulawesi. Like, you got to try this, come in here. And a lot of my friends that I made from my college days were people I grabbed off the street that were walking by and joined us for a tasting. And then they would start coming once a week. And our store would have circles of like 20 customers tasting pairings every week. It was just really remarkable. I can't think of any other brand where you can people are making connections like that.
Yeah, no, you definitely took the opportunity to build the human connection that we all talked about as being so important at Starbucks. So great work and love those stories.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some mentors or people that you looked up to at Starbucks in those different stores, and how have they impacted your career after Starbucks?
Yeah, so obviously Howard is just an obvious answer to that. But I had a really good manager in East Lansing. His name was Ener Almanza. He was from Southern California. He was, I think he was born in Spain. And he was a really sharp guy, but also just a laid back personality. And something that he taught me was, like you got to be on top of things and get your work done. But he taught me how to have as much fun as possible at work, like within the bounds of doing my job right. And that was that was a fun lesson. He taught me how to like really truly have fun at work. And as a huge fan of the brand and Howard and all those communications on the portal, I was just a nerd and reading up on what senior leadership was doing all the time. And I knew everyone's name, even though I didn't know who they were. And that was just kind of fun to see the inner workings of what's going on in corporate.
I know you're a big fan of Howard Bihar. who's obviously been so instrumental to this organization in so many ways. And just for the audience to know, at our first event for Green Apron on Capitol Hill a couple years ago, James drove all the way from Portland to Seattle for the event, and then drove back to Portland that night after the event, which, James, we so appreciate you doing that in huge ways. And I got to take a picture of James and Howard Bihar, which I still have. And so I'll share that with you, James, if I haven't shared it with you. But I just love that. And you're one of those just really inspiring stories from this group and this community. And we're just so happy for that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So in 2015, you founded 1927 S'mores. Can you talk about how the company came to be and what it was that inspired you to take the leap into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so in 2010, I was having a conversation with some friends, and I was new to Portland, and we were talking about how interesting Portland food concepts were. And back then it was a little bit more hippie and quirky. And we were just talking about how, like, oh, this is such a quirky spot. And yeah, so the conversation kind of led to, like, man, what if there was an open air, like camp themed restaurant where, and obviously open air won't work in Portland because it rains every day, but what if there was a camp themed restaurant where you sit around a fire with your friends? Maybe you've got skinny tables instead of a big table. You're around a fire, you've got your pork and beans coming out on a tin plate, and your Pilsner. And then what are you gonna do for dessert? Oh, like obviously s'mores, you have to do s'mores. And it was at that moment I'm like, oh, that's so good. Because when I have a s'more, like a run-of-the-mill s'more, it's always good, but it's not as good as I wanted it to be. It was always better in theory than it actually was. The store-bought graham cracker was stale, the marshmallow was the wrong shape, the chocolate didn't melt. I'm really sticky. It still tasted great, but I'm sticky, and there's a better way to do this. And so I remember thinking, like, that's a good idea. I will not forget that. Just save in the brain. So yeah, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That conversation happened, and yeah. So in 2015, my wife and I, we finally we hopefully have an inspiration to people who are growing up and don't have anything but have big ideas. And all we had were the idea and our work ethic, and we tried like recipes for a year. And throughout 2014, we made every money move we could. We bought the cart, we got established as a business. And in 2015, it was kind of like, okay, we've got a sidewalk spot, we've got our permits and everything. And if people buy s'mores, we'll exist. And if they don't, then we won't. And I remember we opened, and on our first weekend, our first night, we sold out. We sold out early on the weekend, and there were so many people that would walk by, and they're like, "Are you literally like setting s'mores on fire right now?" Like, and even the folks who didn't want a s'more in the moment, it's like, I don't want a s'more, but I do want you to come to Nike, and I want you to toast this up for my team. And both my wife and I had humble jobs that we pretty quickly quit. And, we weren't setting the world on fire, but we were paying the bills. And suddenly we had, we were on the street, we had catering suddenly because people were asking us to do catering events. And then my wife created the s'more kit, which some of you have in hand. And that sold like gangbusters, and the kit ended up in REI nationwide for Christmas 2017. And I mean, at that point, our office was still a spare bedroom. And I remember being on a call with the shipping and logistics team with REI, and she's going through the PowerPoint with me, and she's like, "Make sure you tell your shipping team this is really important. Like, tell your shipping team this." And it's me and this 18-year-old kid that we had hired, and we're like, okay, we'll let them know. We will let them know. So, yeah.
Well, you obviously knew something early about real estate because you put your first cart right across from Salt and Straw which is founded by our alumni, Kim Malik. So nice job in getting the overflow from those 90-minute waits for ice cream. Really well positioned there.
Thank you.
So I think it's time for a s'mores break.
Let's do it.
So should we go over to the roasting bar and torch a s'more?
Let's do it. Absolutely. Just like Starbucks, one of our big selling points is the theater of the s'more and having it torched up in front of you. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you're at home, you can toast your marshmallow over a electric coil stove top or gas, or if you have a fire, but yeah, it's pretty easy no matter what the situation is.
James, it's just while you're doing that, I just love how, from a design perspective, you created this roasting bar experience. No one had ever done that before. So talk a little bit maybe about positioning for all the elements of the store for a concept that had never been done before.
Yeah. So when it comes to this, seeing the s'more torched in front of you, that was my pizza being thrown in the air, pizza shop, New York pizza shop, kind of thinking like, how do we draw people in? Like if I saw somebody rolling out dough, I'd be walking in for a slice of pizza, and I think right now there's somebody looking in at me torching the s'more, and so hopefully it'll come back later tonight. But it's kind of like free advertising, all the time with the open window. So yeah, as far as the store, hard to see through Zoom, but above me there is a loft, and it's like a cabin. Whoop. Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's out in the forest. There's these like lookout towers for wildfire. So if you were to see it in person, it would look. It's supposed to be inspired by those wildfire lookout towers. But anyway, here is a gourmet s'more. So
yeah, delicious. Wow, what'd you make there? Which flavor is that?
So this is the original. It's a honey graham cracker, vanilla marshmallow, and chocolate fudge. It's all made from scratch and torch fired to perfection.
Nicely done. I would agree with Courtney, who made a comment on the chat that she's drooling.
I had one before we started.
And Alex said that's a gorgeous bar, and I would agree, having been to the shop. All the elements are really well done. You feel like you're in a cabin up on Mount Hood, and the signage looks like the National Forest Service signage, and all the elements. There's a canoe in there, and you've done just a really amazing job pulling together all the design elements of the shop. Yeah,
well, when it came to the shop, I mean, we had catering going, we had s'more kits going. We needed an experience for people to come to. And when we went into it, it was like, two of my biggest inspirations are Howard Schultz and Starbucks, and Walt Disney and Disney. And if Howard Schultz and Walt Disney got together to do a concept around s'mores, like what is that experience going to look like? And so you've got a Disney-esque experience. Yeah, feels like you're about to go, get in line for Thunder Mountain Railroad or something. But I think the main thing for us is we're about nostalgia. So we sell s'mores, but we're really trying to pull those heartstrings. We're trying to jog those memories. We're trying to make memories. We want people to come in and see, have the best dessert experience in the city or on the West Coast and make those memories, but also like hear a song on the playlist that's from a 90s movie that they forgot about, and just like jog all those memories in as many touch points as we can.
Yeah, I love how you articulated it when we first talked. I do a lot of purpose statements for my clients, and you said 1927 S'mores is focused on creating nostalgic culinary campfire-inspired experiences that provide respite from the day and create new memories while evoking memories from the past. And really hits at the past and the present and the future. And we all can probably remember our first s'mores experiences and camping as a kid and whatnot. So I just love how that purpose is living in your brand.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So what are your passions as a leader, and how do you leverage them from a day to day in leading the company? You and I have talked a lot recently, and your business is going really well during difficult times in food and beverage with COVID. And you've hired some new people, and you're traveling a lot back and forth from Hawaii. And so you've got some real leaders in your organization. So I'd just love to know, again, what are your passions as a leader, and how do you implement those and leverage those running your company?
I don't know. I think I have a true passion for people. I think the role of the entrepreneur is to create as much prosperity around them as possible. So that's for the people in your organization, the community around them, and that would trickle down to me as well after taking care of all of those people. I'm naturally passionate about food and drink, easily excitable. And I think back in that coffee tasting back with Starbucks, I was having 20, 30 people a night in the span of an hour come out just regularly to do a tasting. And I think it was putting myself out there during that coffee hour. I showed myself that I could possibly build something and ignite an excitement in other people as well. So that was a really good learning experience. But I don't know. I just love food and drink. I love people. I love the idea, and all my motivation is just seeing everything come to life. So
Outstanding.
yeah.
Hey, James, Sandy Nelson wants to know, where exactly in Portland is the shop? Right? Is it still across from Salt and Straw, or is it in another location in Portland?
So no, we're not far. So we're next to the Multnomah Whiskey Library on Southwest 11th and Alder Street. So technically that's the West End. It's right near the Target. They're building a new Ritz-Carlton, huge tower. So it's kind of like the future hotel district of Portland, I think, is kind of where we're centered right now.
Excellent. Let's talk a bit about culture. You know, we grew up in a really strong culture at Starbucks. And is culture important to you with your company? And if so, how have you made that a priority with building 1927 S'mores?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a really solid family atmosphere. I think it definitely feels family, and it's tricky because as a leader, it's like you can't be best friends with everybody. There's got to be an arm's length to a certain extent, but I think everyone's authentic, and there's truly care. Everyone knows that they're cared for, and everyone is loved and treated with respect and dignity. And so I think out of that, mixed with the passion and excitement around the product and the brand and the experience, is helping us to build a culture that's hopefully similar to Starbucks. Yeah.
Excellent. What's the most difficult part of being a small business owner?
Oh my gosh. Wow. So the early days, it's just chaos because there's no system set up. It's disorganized. You're trying to just figure everything out. I think for Elise and I mean, we started with absolutely nothing. We built it on, the sales that came in. So early on, lack of working cash was really difficult. Early missteps around just, I don't know if you watch Shark Tank, but there's preach knowing your numbers. I shot myself in the foot early on, not knowing my numbers, taking on a big order, getting burned, and then just, I don't know, when you learn the hard way, just never make the mistake again. And hopefully that's, the shortest period possible of time. So, having to fire people, which is extremely rare. We've probably had 60 or 70 people work here in, 5 or 6 years, just on staff in a retail environment or catering or in our kitchen. And we've had to let go of maybe 3 people, but it's never easy. And I love people again. So it's really, really hard to fire people, but you have to do you got to take care of the whole ship, because, there's so many people on that riding on that. So you got to take care of the business.
Absolutely. So what's the most rewarding aspect of being a small business owner?
Gosh, probably seeing everything run on all cylinders and not being the one doing all the work is pretty rewarding. Hey, Bella. We're gonna open soon. So yeah, just seeing it run on all cylinders, and not being the one doing absolutely everything is rewarding to see that come together.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So a question from Marie Gill: what would you want alumni to consider from your experiences on starting their own business and life outside of Starbucks?
So I actually made a list of things for potential entrepreneurs. So I titled this "Questions to Answer Through a Lens of Humility." If potentially thinking about doing a business, number one, am I uniquely qualified and positioned to build and grow this idea? Because lots of people have good ideas, but it's such a big undertaking and can affect your life in so many ways if it goes sideways and doesn't work out. Like, am I truly the right person to do this? Yes or no? And soul search on that. My number two is, what truly are my weaknesses? And how do I delegate those things out, especially if you're on a shoestring budget? You have to be honest with yourself on what your weaknesses are, and or else you'll shoot yourself in the foot. Number three, am I and my loved ones willing to make major sacrifices for me to see this prosper? Because there is, it's rough on family, so that has got to be taken into consideration. And then, is the idea that you have constantly on your mind? If you can't sleep because you have visions of gourmet s'mores dancing in your head 24/7, then that might be a sign it's, you're supposed to do something with it. So those are my four things for future entrepreneurs.
Excellent. Great wisdom and great introspect, and love the fact that you're taking the time as the leader to look inward and think about those things. So fantastic.
Yeah.
Robin wants to know, how many s'mores do you eat a week?
I probably eat one once a month, and I'm in love, head over heels in love with our product. But I don't know, I just don't want to overdo it. So I just had my once a month right now, and it was pretty solid. Threw some peanut butter on there, no complaints.
Customization, right?
Yeah.
Portland is such a dynamic food and beverage community, known for inspiring brands, concepts, products, and entrepreneurs. How has this influenced you in what you're doing at 1927 S'mores?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the community we're in, the food community specifically, I think things are so high quality that it's forced us to just match that level of quality and not cut any corners and put out the best product possible. Collaborating with other companies has been really important for us and helping us. Like when we early on, we needed to, we wanted to be accepted by like inner Portland folks right off the bat. And one of the ways we did that was we partnered with Water Avenue Coffee on a coffee infused marshmallow and s'more. And so by doing that, they were posting about us to their audience, and we were posting about it on social media. And so we were able to kind of like pick up foodie fans that way by having other brands accept us, and then getting that cross like marketing between the two brands as well.
Fantastic. Hey, I think it's time for another s'mores break.
Let's do it.
Let's go to the other side of the roasting bar. And what are you going to torch?
So this is the whiskey salted caramel. I threw it on a chocolate graham. So some of your kits, the kits have honey and chocolate grahams. inside. So I went chocolate. There's caramel sauce on mine. So I'm gonna torch that up right now.
You had me at whiskey and caramel.
So we partnered with Westward Whiskey, which is a brand in Portland. So the marshmallow is infused with whiskey, but it's not too much. It's just right, and it's balanced with salted caramel and marshmallow. It's easily our top seller.
Looks amazing. Jennifer Ames Kerman says that she's going to torch these tonight for her husband Frank's birthday. So happy birthday to Frank, and happy torching, Jennifer.
That's awesome. Happy birthday.
I want to make a note here too, that Emily, who was on the event tonight, said she remembers you from East Lansing. So we've got someone from Michigan, the Michigan days, here tonight. That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, what's her last name?
Her last name, let me scroll back. It just says Emily, so I'm not quite sure. I don't know if she's still on the screen. She may have dropped off, but you have a fan in Michigan from the early days.
Oh my gosh. Well, hi, Emily.
Emily, if you're there, type a chat.
Perfect.
Wow. Okay. So COVID-19 took a direct hit on the food and beverage and hospitality industry. How has this impacted your business and your strategy? And have you pivoted to embrace the new normal that comes during a pandemic and the impact on the business?
Yeah. Gosh, what a scary time. When COVID hit, obviously our restaurant was almost silent. Catering events were trying to cancel left and right, which completely makes sense. And that was a little scary because we had built up a pretty huge catering business in Portland here. So we immediately flipped to pushing our s'more kits for at-home experiences. So like wholesale, e-commerce. And e-commerce wasn't really a big thing for us yet. But we tried to come up with, good marketing initiatives. Like we did a promotion. It was like build the best fort with your kids at home. This was like table chairs, blankets, and send us your pictures. And the winner would get a free s'more kit. And all these families were sending in all their pictures of the fort their kids made in the living room. And we just did the best we could. And I'm so relieved to say that our massive losses in catering and the store were completely made up by wholesale and by e-commerce, to the point where we actually beat 2019 sales. So, and I say that just relieved, mostly. It's cool, but I'm just, because there's so many other businesses that are struggling and closing that we're just humble and thankful for any support and purchase.
Yeah, congratulations, James, because you're right. Lots of food and beverage companies can't say that for the past year, and that's really impressive. And the pivot to embrace an omni-channel strategy and leverage that in great ways with your brand and find new customers in new places is really impressive. So congratulations.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you.
Starbucks cafes are known for being a third place destination for their customers. We talked about that a little bit with Northwest 23rd. And it looks like you built something similar there in your shop. And we talked a little bit about the design. But can you talk about how that comes to light? The other night we were talking, you said there was a line down the street of people lining up probably about this time when you opened the shop. So talk a little bit about that and the experience, waiting in line to come in and their eyes gazing when they walk in and see the roasting bar and all the torching going on.
I think it just goes back to that nostalgia piece that I was talking about. We're selling feelings and memories past and making them, and the music lines up with just cult classic things from our past, and the theater of like the s'more being torched in front of you. it's just clever to the max, and it's just Disney to the max. And we're the only s'more company that I know of in the Northwest, and so we're excited to see where we can take it. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
We all need heroes, especially during these uncertain times. Who are your heroes these days and why?
Oh gosh. Well, obviously one of my favorite entrepreneurs is Howard Schultz, but we've covered that. Danny Meyer from Shake Shack is a huge inspiration. Any leader in Washington that promotes unity is a hero of mine. I think that you can learn a lot of what not to do. I remember, Starbucks has had its ups and downs, and we've seen them make brilliant decisions. We've seen them maybe make a few missteps and then correct them. And if you're paying attention, those are all really strong learning experiences. And just through my life, there have been people that have, I've just learned what not to do. And I think despite the ugly times I think our country's been going through, you can learn a lot of what not to do. And, lovingly, go towards a brighter path. So, yeah, but you're a hero of mine, big fan.
Way too kind. Way too kind. Do I owe you $20 or $50? What do we agree on?
25 is fine.
Tell us about the 1927 S'mores product line. There's so many different flavors and types, and tonight we experienced two. But how have you prioritized which ones that are part of your product portfolio? So talk a little bit about your menu. Do you do limited time offerings, and how do you make those decisions about which type of s'more is going to be next?
Yeah, so we have a seasonal menu. It changes. We try to keep like berry s'mores in season, so that's a big thing. One of our recent most innovative things we came up with is a s'more parfait. So it's crushed graham cracker, chocolate mousse in the middle, and then marshmallow fluff on top that we torch in front of you. So we also have a line of hot cocos that get a torch marshmallow. So I think everything we serve, we set on fire. So you get the fire element. But the parfait happened because we had all these broken graham crackers. We didn't know what to do with it. And as far as food waste, we wanted to be as close to a zero waste company as possible. And so we created these parfaits, and we do concessions at Portland Trailblazers, and we introduced the parfait at the Moda Center, and they sold better than our s'mores did. And it's like we're just handing out parfaits all night long at the Blazer games. So that's been huge. S'more bars that are like layered bars, kind of like a pastry. And those have sold really well at the store, and it's all the same ingredients that we're just kind of like innovating with. One thing that's going to come soon is savory. I think we'll have a big push on savory s'mores with apple butter and a slice of cheese, wine marshmallow. So I think we'll have some really cool stuff that's never been done before coming very soon.
Well, Alex wants to know how it could be that you're not 1,000 pounds. Being in that shop all the time,
I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to get sick of it, so I just try not to eat it too much. But yeah, it's so delicious.
And Marie wants to know if the Green Apron can be the testing ground for new products.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's set that up. Let's do it. In fact,
volunteers on the screen right now.
As soon as it's safe to do so, I really badly want to open a store and start catering in Seattle. So, hopefully in person.
Yeah, talk about that. That's a great segue, because you've got something so unique and so different and so pioneering. and you've got something that translates well in a brick and mortar environment, in other channels. It's so versatile. You've already done a cart, and you're doing, an arena with the Trailblazers. So how do you think about that from a store development perspective and a concept development perspective? How do you decide, with all the runway out there with no competitors really, I mean, not too many people doing this, how do you decide what you're going to do next?
Well, we know that our concept works really well in Portland. Portland's basically a camp-themed city. So, I mean, I've never expanded a business before like this, but I don't want to make any missteps. You can't afford any missteps. And Seattle, being a sister city and being still kind of, it's just so, it's the similar vibes and similar group of people. I think it would work really well. So as soon as things clear up with COVID, I really badly want to be in Seattle as soon as it's safe to do so. I think, and we've got concessions here at Trailblazers, but we haven't even tried MLB. I think the s'more could be the next Cracker Jack at MLB stadiums. Mariners, I'm coming for you. Seahawks, cold weather stadiums, college sports, hockey. I mean, I think basketball in Portland is great, but it's probably the weakest of the major sports as far as having a brand presence in a stadium. So,
well, we should talk, James, because while you're talking, I was just on the phone with a restaurateur in Seattle here who just found out that he's getting into the Climate Pledge Arena, which is the old Key Arena where the hockey team's going to be, the Kraken.
Yeah.
So let's make a note and talk about that, because they're making those decisions right now. And we should talk about that. Charles from Levy in the Moda Center actually liked the post I did on LinkedIn tonight. So you've got some big fans with some listeners and operators.
We got into the Moda Center in the most kind of Shark Tank kind of interaction with Charles. The person we were supposed to meet with was a no-show, and kind of were shoved into the room with Charles, and he blasted us with questions, and we torched him a s'more and somehow got in the stadium. So yeah, crazy times.
Great. Well, you're lighting up the chat room right now. People want you. Courtney says, come to New York. I'm sure she wants you in Brooklyn specifically. Marie wants to do a road trip. Alex thinks you'd be great in Maine. And Christine McHugh is pointing out that there's tons of Starbucks alumni working for the Mariners. So let's leverage those relationships for you.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Sounds perfect. Oh, soccer. That's a good call. That's a good call too.
Can you talk a little bit more about some partnerships you have for retailers that offer your products? I know you mentioned REI, but you've got lots of great brand extensions in other places. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest ones, Filson. I think Filson is based in Seattle, aren't they? Mm-hmm. So we've got s'more kits about to roll out with Filson right now. We've been there before, but they brought us back, so that's exciting. The Made in Oregon store, that's all over Oregon, so they've got our s'more kits. Etsy has been a super good platform for us. We're also sold on Anthropology, so soon to be in store as soon as traffic returns. So we've been working on that one forever, and we're just thrilled to get on their website, and that's been doing really well. Glamping is a huge opportunity that we really, really need to tap into. And I'm super excited to say that we're teaming up with AutoCamp. And Doug, you've been telling me to get with AutoCamp forever. It's happening. So wow. They have 6 locations. They're about to open up Cape Cod, so we're gonna have our kits at all of their locations. So yeah.
They're amazing. They just announced those 3 new locations this week. Mike Casper is a guy that worked at Mod Pizza that I worked with a little bit, and he's now running operations there. So we should connect you there because huge opportunity. They're doing great things in the Russian River and Yosemite and great spots. So perfect fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about direct to consumer? What about on your own website? Like, how are people finding you? And I'm sure social media is a big part of that, and directing people to your website. It seems like we're living in the golden era of all things direct to consumer. So can you talk a little bit about driving sales from your own website?
Yeah, so we've upped our marketing game recently. So we've been driving a lot of people to our website. All Green Apron members get 15% off with the code GAA.
Thank you.
GAA, that's the code. So yeah, go to our website for that. But other platforms like Etsy has been a really good source of just other leads for wholesale. But yeah, I think social media and marketing has been what's driven people to our door on our website.
That's great. Well, it's beautiful. The work you put out is fantastic and really nostalgic and looks delicious. So I'm sure you're having success because of all that.
Yeah, thank you, Doug.
So one more question, and then we'll wrap up here because we're getting close to the 6 o'clock hour. We've got a couple of final pieces of business. But so there's some Green Apron Alliance members that may be watching here tonight and maybe in a career crossroads and exploring new opportunities. So what advice would you give to anyone looking to maybe start their own business?
Yeah, so I think I skipped ahead earlier, but yeah, just really soul searching and just thinking about like, am I truly supposed to do this? Am I truly equipped to do this? Is this the right time of my life? Is this good for my family? Just all of those, just really thinking about that. But if there's an idea that just will not let you go or leave you alone, maybe you just need to go do it. So those are my thoughts. Yeah, but a deep, long think for a long time needs to happen before truly diving into something like that, because there's just so much at stake. But yeah, high risk, high reward.
Yeah, I love that. Go do it in the land of Nike, like just do it, right? And then also just deep, long thoughts and the discipline that comes with that is really responsible. So I love that.
Thank you.
Well, James, we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. We're honored that you've been part of our Inspired Stories from the Kitchen series. Congratulations on all the incredible work that you and the team are doing to build the 1927 S'mores brand and business. It's really impressive and super inspiring to all of us. As you mentioned a moment ago, you've graciously offered to give a 15% discount on 1927 S'mores kits on your website from Green Apron Alliance members for an indefinite period of time, which is incredibly generous. And so I know a lot of people have already taken advantage of this, but for those who are going to watch the recording on the Green Apron platform, make sure and take advantage. Just go to the website at 1927s'mores.com and enter GAA in the discount code line during the checkout process, and they'll ship your s'mores kits to you at a discount. So thank you again, James. Super generous, and we really appreciate that.
Cool. Thanks, Doug.
So thank you. Round of applause for James.
Thanks.
So what's ahead for Green Apron Alliance? We hope you'll join us next week on February 25th for another virtual event, and it's entitled Optimizing Your Green Apron Alliance Experience. And it's an opportunity for members to learn more about all the great resources within the Green Apron Alliance platform and our programs. So make sure and join us on February 25th for that great event. I also want to just remind people, if you haven't paid your initial dues for the community, please do that. Or if you haven't renewed your membership, please do that as well. And then I want to turn it over to Marie real quick, who's going to talk about the winner of a contest that we had. So Marie, go.
All right. So thank you. This has been really fun. Thank you, Doug, for bringing James here. This is awesome. I'm a huge fan. We want to point everybody to Green Apron Stories, greenapronstories.com. We are deep in the storytelling part of our history here. We are celebrating 50 years of Starbucks we all on this call built Starbucks. So we're telling the great stories and sharing all kinds of fun things. So please go check it out. During the month of February, we are pulling a winner a week from the Green Apron Stories platform. So we have picked 2 winners to represent the first 2 weeks of February who told some really fun stories on Green Apron Stories. And we are giving them s'mores kits. So as winners, so we've got Marla Loftless and Allison Brown. So we're going to be sending out some acknowledgments for those 2 for telling some great stories. But you have 2 weeks to get your story in to go win a kit. So come on, there's some good stuff. And then Sandy Nelson, who's on here, is also offering a art package gift from Sandy Nelson Studios as one of our next winners. So again, tell a story and share the love. And James, thank you again for giving us your time, giving us your passion. I know I talked to Howard Behar this morning and told him that you were going to be on tonight, and he regrets not being able to make it, but he wanted me to send you a big Green Apron hug. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you,
All right.
everyone. Thanks for joining us, and stay safe and healthy out there.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks so much, James.
Thank you.